Good evening and welcome to this week's episode of Coach's Corner. My name is Dwayne Dwyer. I go by the Mindset Coach.
And I am the Uncle Junior, and I go by the consistency coach.
And we are your coaches for Coach's Corner. Listen, as always, you guys see how you see how we starting off already. As always, it is an honor to be able to sit in front of you and talk to you guys, especially when we do it live, right? It's an honor to be able to sit in front of you guys and talk to you and connect with you. It's an honor to share in conversation with my brother C Square over here. So let's just back up before I get too far into it. C Square, how are you doing on this beautiful Tuesday evening?
Man, I'm doing good, man. I was I was over here in the background. I had because I got both of the other shows up. I got your YouTube channel up, and then I got my YouTube channel up. So when it was going on, it started playing over the speakers and stuff, and I was over here trying to cut it off. And then at the same time, it was my cue to come up and say something. So all of that happened real quick. So, but man, I've been having a busy. I had a real busy last week, and I've been having another busy week. But the good thing about a busy week is that once you get time to settle down and relax, you can look back and you can see all of the things that you accomplished, and that relaxing moment will be that much greater. Like, I don't really have a day off like from busyness until like the 6th of April. So I don't know if I told Shell, but yeah, the schedule is really packed.
Hey man, I
Then
get
I
it.
got spring break.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
I get it, man. My days be busy as well. Even when I'm off, I'm not off.
Hmm.
But as always, man, it's an honor to be able to sit here and have conversation with you, to be able to connect with the livest chat. And again, we're doing this live tonight. So again, this is where the fun happens.
Hmm.
So without further ado, let me acknowledge them first before we get started and dive into this. So again, as always, welcome to the show. Again, if you have not already done so, hit that like button and make sure that you share it before we get started, because we're talking about procrastination. And I'm sorry, perfectionism. Please forgive me. And if you are a perfectionist, I want you to put one in the chat. I'm just curious to see who you are. Put one in the chat, because if I was in the chat, I'd be banging the keyboard with the number one right now. So that being said, good to see you and welcome to the show, Lisa Keys, Nick D, His Divine Appointment, Miss Charlotte Jordan. Good to see you. Crystal Everett. Let me make sure, Miss Adrian Artist. And listen, if you're here and you're watching, again, just get in the chat. Let us know you're here, because on this channel, we like to acknowledge you by name. Because so I'm recovering. We like to acknowledge you by name because we see this as one big family. Um, so yeah, man. Anything you want to kind of discuss real quick, C Square, before we dive into it?
I I hope that the chat is having a good week. You know what I mean? It's Tuesday afternoon, and a lot of times some of us don't really get. I mean, I'm good, but I know some people don't really get things jumping to about Wednesday. You know what I mean? Some people have long, busy weekends, doing honeydew lists and catching up on laundry and all these different things, and then they roll right over into the week, and all of the things that you didn't get accomplished last week, you gotta roll over into Monday. People clearing off their desk. Oh, wait, I just send it on Monday. And then you have the people who work on the weekend who schedule a whole bunch of things to go out at 7 o'clock in the morning. So you get all those emails too. So, I'm just hoping that the chat is, having a good evening, having a good week, because, we all know we work and we have jobs and we have families and we have a lot of different things going on. So I'm just, just a shout out to the chat for being here this evening, because, I know it can be rough out there, and I'm just hoping that everybody's having a good week.
I just want you to know I feel attacked when you were saying all that, because you was talking about me. I feel it. I
Bro,
believe. I know it. I'm
bro,
that person.
same.
Listen, I'm that person. I show people get notifications all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And me.
absolutely. Yeah, and you.
Both. Like, sometimes I'll be in my mood, and then, or sometimes I would take work home intentionally or not fix it intentionally, because sometimes I can still be okay coming home. I don't generally do it all the time, but every once in a while, it feels like some spreadsheets or some craft things that is real easy to do. Cut on some music, got the TV on, relax, and just do it real quick, or just take some time to do it, in and I can do it with peace without somebody running in and out of my office and stuff. And
There you
I
go.
don't know. Sometimes,
That's
but not often. Not often.
That's it. I love it. I love it. Look here, as we get ready, like I said, if you are a perfectionist or a recovering perfectionist, Nick D and Lisa Keys, I see y'all. If you're a recovering perfectionist, put a one in the chat because I'm curious. I want to see how many people in the same boat as me.
Ooh.
Because perfectionism is more common than we tend to give credit to. Again, that's part of the reason why, like we was just talking about, you get those messages at the wee hours of the night and things of that nature. Because I be studying the information, the algorithm when it says the best to send stuff out, and so that's when I do it. So I set it up to go out at those particular point in time.
Mm-hmm.
People will get, you know, they may get YouTube notifications at midnight, stuff like that. And trust me, it's not because I'm trying to wake y'all up. I promise. Make sure you put do not disturb on your phone though. It's not that I'm
Absolutely.
trying to wake y'all up. It's just that I'm trying to make sure that we're doing things according to the algorithm. So that being said, man, if anything else, we can go and jump into it and get this party started.
Man, you said jump in. I got my big toe. I got my skivvies on. Got my big toe. I'm tipping it in the water. So I'm trying to see how this go. Coach said we're gonna have a good one tonight, folks, and I believe him. So I'm excited. Let's get into it, man.
All right, as you wish, sir. What if the same instinct that once helped our ancestors survive famine and predators is now sabotaging your career, creativity, and relationships? Perfectionism isn't a badge of honor, it's a biological trap. 50,000 years ago, spotting a half hidden tiger in the bushes kept you alive. Today, spotting a typo in an email feels as if it's life or death. Our brains haven't evolved, but our world has. We're stuck in a loop. Meritocracy tells us we're only as valuable as our last win. Algorithms profit from our fear of irrelevance, and our nervous systems, well, they're still scanning deserts for lions, not Slack threads for typos. No wonder we're drowning. Today, we're dissecting perfectionism as a societal immune disorder and the unlikely cures hiding in plain sight, like why Norwegian CEOs are mandating imperfection quotas to save their teams, how Silicon Valley's ugly first drafts could rescue your sanity, what Bronze Age villagers can teach us about surviving modern burnout. This isn't about self care, it's about rewiring your systems, colonizing your confidence. Are you ready to stop feeding the beast? Stay tuned and keep letting an outdated brain script the predatory algorithms run and ruin your life. So that was a lot as it pertains to perfectionism. And I would be honest and transparent. Me, I would struggle at times from perfectionism, and just being transparent. It's not that I've learned to put it all on the shelf. It's not as bad as it used to be, but there are times where perfectionism still gets the best of me. So I kind of want to kind of kickstart this off with just kind of like
Be,
an
excuse me. Before we go, can
Mhm.
we kind of talk about perfectionism? And the reason why, because I think there are sometimes some different interpretation, or people have different perceptions about what per- perfectionism is. I know somebody who is the most disciplined person I know,
Okay.
but some people would say that this guy's a perfectionist. I just see him as just being very disciplined with his finances, his relationships, with his career, with his, all in all aspects of his life. He has a lot of discipline. So is that discipline or is that perfectionism? You know what I mean?
Well,
And or what's the difference or the similarities between the two?
I think the difference is when disciplines turns into self-criticism because of the inability to obtain flawless execution. I think that's where it differs. There's nothing wrong with being disciplined, and we
Mhm.
should be disciplined. But when discipline turns into a drive that incorporates a degree of criticism on yourself as it pertains to what you're doing, whether or not I was able to accomplish every task that was on my task list, whether or not this task that I'm doing is it perfect. Like when I was in the army, I had a soldier, and I used to call him a perfectionist. And the reason why I would give him a task, and I knew the task that I gave him may have taken an hour, but 3 hours later he's still working on it. And I would go to him and I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Well, I want to make sure it's just right." I said, "All I need you to do is give me 80%. Give me 80% and I'll finish the last 20%. So that's an example of perfectionism because he would stay there and second guess himself and question this and question that to where you won't get it off your plate. You won't get it off your lap. So that's kind of like how I describe perfectionism.
So it's kind of the mindset that goes along with it. So if you have somebody who, that person, the gym rat, that person who works out in the gym and their guns is on point, they got their six pack, they had 3% body fat, right? But if they eat a pea, they're like, oh man, like everything's gonna go wrong. I gotta go and do a million sit-ups, I don't look like I used to. You know what I mean? So like when it gets to that level, is that what you mean by perfectionism versus, oh man, I just need to tighten up a little bit and I need to make some adjustments.
I think that person you was talking about is paranoid. That's
Ooh, paranoid. That's past
that's
perfectionism.
yeah, that's paranoid. Now, again to that point where it
Yeah.
takes you an excessive amount of time to do a thing because you want it to be just right, even
Mm,
though the person um, even though the person who is waiting on it is waiting for it to be executable, you're wanting it to be perfect. And
mm,
then there's a degree of self criticism that may accompany with it as well. So I think that's twofold, right? The amount of time that you spend doing a thing because you want it to be just right, and or the criticism that comes along with it if it isn't just right. So I think that's kind of like another way of looking at perfectionism.
I got it. Got it.
Good to go. Everybody in the chat,
Yes,
y'all
sir.
good? Everybody in the chat, y'all good to go? If y'all ready to go, to give me a two now. Give me a two. How you
It to
doing,
me, I
Mark?
like twos.
How you doing,
It-
Amari? Good to see you. Everybody, if you're ready to go, give me a two. Give me a two in the chats. Give me a number two. Y'all still
I like
speaking. I got
twos.
it.
I like twos.
I know, right?
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Roman numeral two.
First question, and it can be rhetorical in nature, but I'm just kind of curious. Like, in your opinion, how do we go from evolution's sharpest survival tool, which is brain function, to a society where perfectionism costs us $150 billion annually in burnout?
Mm. I don't know about the second part yet. Let me work on the first part. So I
Okay.
think, how did we go from evolution's sharpest tool to whatever? I think some of it has to do with evolution, technology, and all the things. I think that as we start growing into society and we start evolving more, we were always looking for more things, um, things to make our life easier, things to where we could get things done quickly, so we could get back to doing things that we wanted to do, like our hobbies or other things. And I think that this thing has always been around, because I at one point, some people may believe that we were eating with our hands and what I mean, and then we evolved to sticks, then we evolved to silverware. At somewhere along the line we started cooking our food. You know what I mean? So there's always been change and evolution in things, but it seems like over the last so many years, it has grown a lot to the point to where, people don't have to do things. And I think the perfectionism piece, that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. 150 billion annually in burnout. Um, I think it's hard trying to um chase a carrot, the carrot on the string. You know what I mean? I think people
Mhm.
are chasing something that is unachievable,
Yeah.
and I don't know why. It's like I think I know I was chasing the carrot for a while. I know I was chasing the carrot. I know that I wanted to be perfect in certain areas, but I wanted to be perfect in certain areas based on someone else's interpretation of what perfection was. Then I started thinking about it, and I'm just like, not that I'm already enough. I'm not saying that, but what I am saying is that it's not up to anybody else and what they think about me, and they don't get to determine what level of perfection that I am. So how we went from evolution to the sharpest survival tool. So how did we go from evolution's sharpest survival tool to societies where perfection costs us 150 billion annually, I think it just came with evolution. I just think that on the low end, on the general statement, evolution, time, and it's just something that came with the part with the evolution. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. But I couldn't think of another word besides evolution.
I think
And
you
just
hit a.
moving forward with time,
Mhm.
most things evolve.
So, do you believe the perfectionism trait, and I'm gonna call it a trait for now? Do you believe
Okay.
that that's a part of evolution?
I don't.
Okay.
Um from what think right now, I would say no. I'm always open to more information to adjust my mindset or my stance, but right now I don't think so. I don't know a lot about genes, but when people, and I'm not here to bash anybody, but like when, I know people say that, alcoholism, and I'm not saying that none of these things are not, but I'm just saying certain things I don't understand. It's like, when people say, well, there's an alcohol gene. Well, I'll say, where at one point there wasn't even any alcohol on the earth. It was not even in us. So
Mhm.
how, did that gene come about? So like I said, I don't understand genetics. I didn't do anything biology, took it 3 times to pass it, but you know what I'm saying? So I don't really know. So
Yeah, I think I think there's two things that you said that I really enjoyed listening to, and I just kind of want to expound on those things, right? I do believe that um, as we get into modern age, as you go from historical data into more modern age, more hands off labor, if you will. Labor looked different back then than it does now. I think you find that people are less resilient, even though resiliency is a hot button item today. You find that people are
mhm,
less resilient. You find that in the midst of them being less resilient, there's a lot of comparison that goes on. And then in the midst of the comparison that goes on, it's like, I want to be the best. And I think it was his divine appointment made mention of that. I want to be the best. And so, in that, I believe that a lot of the desire to be the best, because I want people to value me because of what I do, now that starts to create some of that mindset, that creates some of that perfectionism, if you will, that exists from person to person. And perfectionism looks different, right? From one person, like I mentioned, it could be working late, bringing work home, whatever the things may be. And then the other person can be extremely critical when they don't necessarily get it just right. And I think all of those things can be true within the space of how we move and behave in today's culture. Um, and now, because of the lack of resiliency or the less resilient we have become, I think we've now migrated into making what's the word I'm looking for? Making mental health a thing to where it's the norm now. So now we migrate into going and seeking the help. Now that gets us to the 150 billion, $50 billion annually, and this is probably more insurance money than we can ever imagine,
mhm,
right?
yeah,
Because in most cases, most people don't pay for mental health out of their pocket. So now you're looking at all of these things, comparing, being valued based upon what I'm worth, being hypercritical of my outcome because I may not necessarily achieve the level of success that I want, and then now going to see somebody because I can't rationalize in my brain not being able to do the thing that I see myself doing and not getting the success that I desired in the beginning. So I think all of those things go into a bucket and you mix it up and you throw it on the table, and now you have the meal that equates to this particular question. And again, all of these things that everybody's saying in the chat is actually is spot on, because this is one that we can literally do a roundtable discussion on and go back and forth about over and over and over again. So yeah, just those things. Um, so that said, let me make sure. Do we have any other comments that we want to bring up? Good to see you,
yeah. I was
Miss
looking.
Verlene McCoy. Um, Yeah, I think we pretty much got them all. Yep. Okay. So what we're going to do now, we're going to kind of like get into it, right? Because I want to start off with the Museum of Failures, which is cultural storytelling. Now, this is what I've come to learn. There are some societies and communities that ritualize failure in public forums. Like Finland has what they call a day of failure. So, Finland celebrate a national day of failure annually where public figures, schools, and companies share stories of setback. Why does this work? Because it destigmatizes failure by framing it as a shared human experience and catalyst for resilience. So, an example of that, students may write an essay about their mistakes, and CEOs post failure CVs online. This one is interesting, and I'm gonna have to. You guys got to fill in the blank. You don't have to say it, but you think you pick up what I'm saying. There is this thing called F Up Nights global movement, right? Originating in Mexico. This global event series invites entrepreneurs to share business failures on stage to packed audiences. Why does this work? Because it turns failure into communal storytelling, fostering solidarity and learning. And a good example of that is a CEO might detail how their startup burned through $1 million before pivoting to success. Japan's study of failure, their ritual is the Japanese engineers and corporations rigorously analyze failures, um, i.e., like the Fukushima disaster, in public forums to codify lessons. Why does this work? Because it institutionalized post failure autopsies to prevent repeat mistakes. The Japan Society for Failure Analysis hosts conferences where companies present what went wrong case studies. In Silicon Valley, they have what is called fail fast culture. It is a ritual where tech startup companies openly celebrate pivots, coded languages for failures, as proof of iteration and innovation. Why does this work? Because it normalizes rapid experimentation and frames failure as a necessary research and development cost. A great example of this is Airbnb's founder frequently discussed how selling 800 boxes of crisis era cereal kept them from bankruptcy. And last, South Korea's startup failure ceremonies. It is a ritual that failed entrepreneurs host funerals for their startups, complete the eulogies and symbolic burials of business old business plans. Why does this work? It provides closure and publicly honors risk taking, reducing shame. An example of this is the K Startup Grand Challenge, which includes failure debriefs as part of its accelerator program. So I went through all of that as we get into our next question. Why do societies that ritualize failure in public forum fosters resilience, while those that celebrate only success breed burnout?
And it just kind of goes a little bit to that first question. Um, I think that, like you said, doing the things in public, everybody can see it. It's like I'm trying to explain resilience. I think at the same time, and I'm trying not to cross my words over. But when you have a society that ritualize that, and like you said, people can see that. I think that they can take that and bring that and personalize that, right? So when Apple CEO goes out there and says, "Hey, we did this," when whoever goes out there and says, "This is what happened to us," Uber, whatever, we've bounced back. This is how we've done it. This is some of our processes and some of the different things that we put in place to hopefully prevent this from happening in the future. However, maybe maybe it will, or maybe it won't. But I think when people can personalize that and they can take that and say, "Hey, you know what? If this can happen to a big company, then it can happen to me. If they can bounce back from whatever they did, then I can bounce back from whatever happened in my life." Versus when you have someone, like you said, places that only breed success, like I said, that is hard to do. Like when people, I mean, it's almost in a sense like social media, and I'm talking about some of the negative sides of social media. I'm not talking about social media all of, but some of the cons of social media is that people get attached to it, and people look to their left and their right, and they're trying to be this person who they see only a couple snapshots at a time. There's 24 hours in a day, and that picture may have taken a second to upload, or 2 seconds or so. So you're comparing yourself to, if they got 3 videos, now you're comparing yourself to 6 seconds of someone's life, and now you are like, well, I need to be like that. I need to have her body. I need to have his body. I need to be able to cook like this person. And if I don't cook like this person, or if I don't speak like Eric Thomas, or if I don't speak like Dwayne Dwyer or whoever it is like this, then I am not as good as I need to be, and I need to be better than them. And that's hard to achieve, because you're not Eric Thomas, you're not Dwayne Dwyer, you are not these people. You are the Uncle Junior. So instead of focusing on that, be the best version of yourself. So again, I think some of this second part of it is people just trying to chase something that is unachievable. You can't chase, and you can't be someone else's life or someone else's dream. You have to live your life for yourself. And when you do it, that's why some of this breeds burnout.
I like that response, and I'm glad you went the social media route, because as I look at this, the first thing comes to mind is that we see the end result of all the things that happen leading up to this point. Like, can
Yeah.
you imagine how many like young adults right now say, "I want to be the next Elon Musk," but they never
Hmm.
realize what took place to get to the Elon Musk that you currently see. I want to be the
Hmm.
next, I don't know, whoever, whatever other million billionaire out there, whatever. Like, you don't know the plight it took them to get to that point. You got all of the backstory. You only got the story that they're talking about when they're on stage. Well, when you start something with those people in mind as kind of like a role model, you're missing all of the backstory. And because you don't have the backstory, it's like you put so much pressure on yourself to do, and you're looking for the results that you're expecting to come out based upon what you're doing right now. So you're not understanding that it is a slow build to get the momentum going. You just think that, oh, I'm gonna start it today and I'm gonna make X amount of money tomorrow. No, it doesn't work that way. Like, they'll be the first people to tell you. So when you have something like this that actually puts reality out front, and we're going to celebrate reality, not the end state of reality. We're going to celebrate the realness of the journey. And when we put the realness of the journey on Front Street, you can still start the thing, but now you get a lot of the backstory. You get a lot of these CEOs and these entrepreneurs that's telling you, like, no, this was hard work. Like, you just look at the definition of entrepreneur, you're literally self-sacrificing your own time, your own resources, and your own, like, I say it like this: your own peace of mind for freedom, as opposed to trading freedom for money. Right. So that's the thing that you're doing, and you got to realize that you're trying to create a system instead of being a part of an already established system, which is what a job is. A job is an already established system. Being an owner, being a business owner, being an entrepreneur, whatever it is that you're trying to do, like, you're creating a system. So you don't necessarily understand the market analysis that go into it up front. You don't necessarily understand all of the the competitor information that you have to gather. Like, all of these things go into play. The business plan, like, marketing, of course, as always, business development that goes along with it, and then just the operational expenses that you're going to incur by doing the thing. All of those things are the reality that you're going to have to live in. And for the most part, if you're an entrepreneur, you're going to pull it out of pocket, unless you're fortunate enough to get a business loan, or you go get a what do you call it, a grant to kind of help you do it. Other than that, it's coming out of hide, and it's like you're struggling, you're frustrated, you're on edge a lot of the time. So when you're in these societies that ritualize failure in a public forum, it's like, oh, I get it now. I'm glad that I see this, because now I understand what reality is, and I don't get to go into this with jaded glasses or beer goggles thinking it's going to be exactly what I saw it was when I was asleep last night. So I love that response, and that's why I'm glad you started there. There's some responses in the chat that I want to pull out as well,
Hmm.
because they're putting it down. And Lisa, Miss Dr. Lisa Dove Watcherson, good to see you and welcome. There's no fear in judgment. We are all coming together to collectively address how they messed up, what lessons we learned, and how to move forward in a positive way. I love that, and thank you for that. Let's see. Let me see. When we understand trials and tribulations make us stronger. When we focus on the trial, we will be discouraged. When we focus on the outcome, it can breed determination or success. I love that. I like that. I like that. Let's see. Um, yeah, you're right. The Bible does talk about coveting somebody else's success. Nope, I got it. I got it. Appreciate it. The Bible does address coveting somebody else's success, and so I kind of want to get into the practical strategy, and that's what this
Real
conference.
quick.
Yes, sir.
Can I say something real quick? Back
Absolutely.
to that other one. All right. So can you pull up that other one real quick? The last question, not the
Uh,
comment, the question.
oh, the question. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So right there, if we're just looking at good boy, good dog, bad dog, right? Let's leave it at that. All right. So why do societies that ritualize failure in public, we would say there'd be good dog or bad dog? Good dog.
Sure.
All right. So, and then the other part, right? Celebrate only success, breeding burnout. Breeding burnout sound like bad dog, right? So one good, one bad. So if the one is good, I think I'm looking at this, and I know we look at societies as whatever, but I think in a sense, these platforms, the Uncle Junior Network, the Empower Perspective podcast, I'm not saying that it's necessarily a something that we ritualize, but you can come on these platforms that the both of us have, and you can find people who are um talking about some of their failures and some of their shortcomings, and this is a public forum, and it seems like if I'm saying it's a good thing, good dog, then maybe that's a good thing. So maybe all of the people here listening, maybe this is helping other people foster some resilience. Maybe there's someone listening to us right now and saying, you know what? I remember when Uncle Junior was talking about how he was in the military and he got demoted for this, and this, and he still made it to this rank and was able to retire and stuff like this. And you know what? If he did it, I can do it. So I'm just saying, maybe this is some of that too.
Great. You you made me
There
take
we
the
go.
question down so you can answer.
Oh, I don't know.
No,
I've
you're
been
good. You're good.
blabbling a little bit today.
No, you're good.
Okay.
How can workplaces, organizations, etc., ritualize vulnerability to normalize imperfection as a professional skill?
Hmm, like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here we
I
go.
I will go. I will add to it.
Mhm.
I think I'm gonna start in the house first.
Okay. Ooh, not in the house.
I think if we started at home, right? Parents, hi, I'm a parent. Parents, because your child see you as a full grown adult. But if you never share with them some of your failures, then it's like, oh my God, dad has done this, mom has done this, and I have this big old hill I got to climb. But they don't necessarily understand all that you've been through to get there. So periodically, I think it's important for us to sit down with our kids and say, hey, I remember when I was your age, and I struggled with this. I struggled understanding this. I struggled doing that. I think that kind of helps them. I think that kind of takes the edge off with them. But I also think that works in organizations, workplaces as well.
Mhm.
Because I think if we normalize, like look at some of the projects that we're working on, and instead of us sandblasting people for making mistakes, right? Let's just put the mistake in a meeting, put it up there, and then we talk about the mistake and the ways that we can improve moving forward from there. We don't have to put the mistake with a name. We don't have to say Mr. Martin did this, right? And so Mr. Martin, bad guy. However, this is what we're going to do. No, this is what happened. No name tied to it. What are some of the ways that you guys think that we can improve upon this to ensure that this error does not happen again? And so when we do that on a normal basis, people don't feel like they can't make a mistake at work. They can't make, and I think in conjunction with that, it stifles decision making and initiative as well. Because I would say, right, and I used to say this in the army, and I'm agreeing with everything that everybody's thinking right now. But I used to tell my soldier in the army, I said, look, make a decision. You don't have to come and always ask me the question. Make a decision. As long as you don't knock nobody off, I can fix it. But make a decision. And so I believe that, based upon their growth and development, they actually got that and they ran with it. Because most of them surpassed me in their military career. And I'm happy to see that, because a lot of times I get messages saying, "Hey, thank you for this. I greatly appreciate this. You was hard, but I'm glad you was, because once I went other places, it was easy." So I think when we actually normalize some of the errors that we've made, talk about those things openly, honestly, with no retribution to anyone who made the mistake, but just as lessons learned so that we can move forward, I think it makes the organization a more relaxed and more easier place to function in. Your thoughts on that?
So on first class Dwyer, I have a question for you.
I may have
When
an answer.
you when you were in the military, were you ever that platoon sergeant,
Yep,
that section sergeant, that squad leader that
I was.
wanted to have the best? Everybody going to PT, everybody going to get 300s,
Hmm.
everybody going to shoot 40 out of 40,
Hmm.
everybody going to take college classes, everybody going to take corresponding courses. Were you ever that perfectionist leader when you was in the military?
But see, I don't think that's perfectionism, right?
Okay.
I don't
All
think that's
right. All right.
perfectionism. I
Okay.
think setting high standards is one thing, right?
Okay.
But and I trust me, I did set high standards, but I
Mm-hmm.
set high standards to give them something to shoot for, as opposed to the Army standards, which was down here in my mind. So,
7.
so to your point, my platoon average, I would say I wanted a 280 as a platoon average. Now, I understand that's difficult to do across
Yeah.
the board of 30 people. I get that, but that was the standard that we pushed for. But I don't view that as perfectionism, though. I just view that as having a high standard. Now, if I had some people in my platoon that come, pardon my French, hella high water, you had to get 280, or you gonna get it. That's a whole nother conversation, right? But again, I need to be achieving that standard as well. That's
Okay.
for starters.
Follow on question based off of what you're saying.
Hmm.
Does trying to achieve or did trying to achieve that high standard cause some burnout too? Even though it wasn't perfectional, because I know for me, I was like you. It's not perfectionism. I get that, but I wanted those standards too, and to do that, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of effort. It takes long nights. It takes coming in early. It takes spending time with Joe about this, writing NCOERs, going over 48, 4857, all of this stuff. It takes a lot of work. And that stuff kind of created some burnout,
Hmm.
or at least it did for me. So did you ever experience any of that burnout from trying to be not perfectionist, but trying to have that top platoon or whatever like that?
I don't think I did.
You
And-
didn't?
No, because
Mm,
not only did we train hard, but we also had fun. Like going to the field for us was fun, because we
mm,
got away from the flagpole, and I allowed them to have fun, and I had fun with them. So I never experienced burnout in the Army from that. Now, if you're talking about the constant going and high up tempo, that's something totally different. But that's not from the way I was training soldiers. Being able to balance, being able to balance what standards are with having fun with standards. I think that kind of helps relieve the burnout as well.
we also had we probably had a little bit different type caliber soldiers too over in aviation versus compared to combat arms too. So
I will not
mm,
deny that.
yeah.
All right, moving right along. Permission to pivot, meritocracy's trap, and again, you guys have probably heard a lot about meritocracy over the past few weeks or months or so. And again, it's just having a society that is based upon merit base. It does not take into account anything other than merit. So, that said, how does the myth of effort equals worth trap marginalized groups into toxic perfectionism to prove their value in a biased system? That's a
Mm.
very loaded question, so I'm going to read it again. How does the myth of effort equals worth trap marginalized groups into toxic perfectionism to prove their value in a biased system?
I would say first of all, I think it keeps people in a certain mindset. When you think that effort equals worth, and that's the only thing that you know, then that's all you're going to do. Um, I used to think that. Let me see. I used to think that, I used to have to work hard to get to a certain level. I used to think that, I could put in a whole bunch of effort, um, and then someone would see my hard work, and then they would pay me for it. They would pay me for my effort. They would look on my YouTube channel right now, and they'll see my subscribers, and they'll see all the hundreds of videos. And to me, it's worth a lot. But to maybe to somebody in YouTube land or to ads and stuff, it's not worth that financially, maybe what I think it may be. So I think that sometimes we can get caught up into that. Like I said, I have a thought on what my effort equals worth means, and then the person who's buying my effort have their perception or their say on it as well. Um, but I think I might need to pause right here for a second, um, and then look at the question a little bit more, and then probably come back to it.
I Here's why I like this question. Because I think for the most part, when we look at society as a whole, we have this mentality that you're only your only worth comes from the value that you produce. I'll start there. You see it in relationships, you see it in the job market, you see it in just communities overall. But I think if my worth equals my effort, I will put it like that. If my worth equals my effort, then you're missing the preponderance of who I am. And I think that equates to just about everybody. If you look at a person and you only see the value in the person based upon what they can produce, then you're missing who the person is. And if you miss who the person is, then how can I connect with the person? How can I relate to the person? How can me and the person have a relationship? So if you look at some people, and I'll say, as the question says, you look at marginalized peoples, marginalized groups are 10 in most cases, not all. In most cases, they're caught in a cycle. It is a cycle, and the cycle breeds more people that's caught up in that cycle. Again, most, not all. I'm stressing that piece. Okay, and so to get out of this cycle, you got to produce, you got to work, you got to produce. As they tend to say, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Well, pulling myself up by my bootstraps equates to a efforts equal worth mindset. But if I am able to pull myself out of that marginalized group based upon effort equals worth, then when I go forward, I am going to always believe that my worth equates to my effort. So I will spend more time doing, hoping that you can see what I'm doing to see the value in me, not necessarily understanding that value is already in me before I started doing. So it creates a system in a person's mind that neglects the value that exists within them outside of what they do. And so that's kind of like the danger and where we get in, because in essence, what ends up happening? Well, this person goes on to get married, whatever the case may be, and all they do is work, 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 work. Well, what do you spend time? When do you get to the point to spend time with your family? When do you get to the point to where you spend time with your kids? Take your son to the baseball game, or go out back and play football with your son, or whatever, or go to spend time with your daughter and talk to her and see. So you don't get that because I am thinking effort equals worth, and so all I do is work. I work when I'm at work. I come home and I work, and at the end of the day, when I'm finished working, everybody in the house is asleep. So this is a very dangerous trap to get caught in because it's a cycle. Just because I got out of the marginalized group, I still have a marginalized mindset in whatever group I moved in from that point forward.
I'm just
No?
soaking it up.
Okay. All right. All
I'm just
right.
soaking it up, man.
Just checking.
This
Just
this
checking.
is yeah, this is kind of some new stuff over here. So I like that.
It,
I like coming up here and being able to learn at the same time.
yeah,
Sorry,
man.
y'all. I can be a little selfish too. It's my show. It's our show.
It can drive people to push themselves further than they should to prove that they have value. This is another thing that can lead to burnout. Meanwhile, another person in the same job is not doing that. Absolutely. Absolutely. Come unto me, all you labor and you're heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Absolutely. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto the souls. Matthew 11, 28, 19. I agree. Thank you for sharing that. Let me see. That's what I was looking for. Efforts equal worth is a tactic to get a task completed, creating a cycle of burnout and diminishing family structure. Bingo. I agree. So I guess that brings us here. What policies can organizations, etc., adopt to disrupt this paradigm and reward progress over polish?
I don't. I do know, but I don't know. Um, I think what we talked about earlier, having a place where not that failure is necessarily glamorized, but it's talked about and it's understood that things happen. I have worked for people who were perfectionists or who had very high standards, and it was always, I want to look a certain way, so and so's coming in, that we need to look a certain way, and this person looks the part. We got Private Dwyer, you know what I mean? That Joker looked the part, he's squared away, he got his squared chin, his boots is polished, his uniform is pressed to the nines, and he just looked like everything. And he can do PT, right? So we're gonna keep promoting and promoting and promoting this person or whatever like this. But the thing about it, he really ain't did anything. You know what I mean? He hadn't really showed the progress and the ability to be able to do skill level 1 task or skill level 2 task, but because he looked the part, or then he got pushed on. I don't know if I don't know if I went around that, or if I'm still on task. Am I still on task? Okay. So I think that one of the things we can do is we can have leadership who have the mindset that progress is over polished. But I don't necessarily know what type of program that would be, but I can see where it needs to start with somebody at the top or someone in the organization having a mindset and bringing something forward, and then getting to the right person and saying, hey, look, this is better than this. This is better than this, and this is why, and maybe have a solution to the reason why. But I think it may start with someone having the mindset and the idea and the willingness to push some sort of program or some sort of policy in that organization in order for things to change or adjust.
Yeah, I would say implement a system that rewards imperfections. And when I say that, I'm saying a system like it's my job to do a thing up to this point. Once it gets to the point, I'm supposed to pass it on to Mr. Martin, and Mr. Martin is supposed to do his part at that point. So there should be a process of reward for how many of these that we do in any given period. Because I'm not just talking about one, I'm talking about how many can we get out, right? That's kind of like what Lean Six Sigma kind of like had, hung their hat at. So how many of these can we do in any given period? Because the number of handoffs that we do should be the reward, not how well I do the thing. But I have to do it to the point to where it functions for you so that you can do your part. So it's kind of like a handoff, which because I have to hand it off, is imperfect. It's not perfect. I don't need it to be perfect. I need it to be functional. Like I said to my soldier, 80-20, right? You do 80, give it to me, I finish the last 20. So if I'm doing 80 and I'm passing to you so you can finish the 20, right? There should be some type of merit to where if we do a number of these a day, then by the end of that week, we will have these numbers, and then that can be the thing. Then there should be a collaborative piece that goes along with it to where we can do like I talked about the meetings where we talked about highlighting mistakes. We can have meetings to reward teams on how they're able to function in a kind of like imperfectly, but they're functioning. It's not about how perfect the team is overall, it's how the team do what they need to do. There's also other things that we can go along and do. We can do, like, I don't know, team building exercises, whatever that looks like. And so in team building exercises, we don't want to do team building exercises just for the sake of connecting. We create team building exercises that create an environment to where imperfections happen. Like, case in point, and I would never do this, by the way. Case in point, going to, like, what do you call those places you got to go in and come up with these puzzles, put these puzzle pieces together to get out?
Oh,
Uh,
those rooms,
yeah,
those
those escape room.
mystery room, yeah,
Yeah,
scary
escape room,
rooms or something.
something like
Yeah.
that. You know, something outside of the ordinary. Like, no, most people in there won't get it right, but it's not about getting it right. It's about having fun. So sometimes we got to figure out ways to have fun. Sometimes we got to figure. Thank you, Nick D. Escape room,
Escape room.
and Dr. Lisa. Sometimes we got to focus on having fun. Sometimes we got to focus on not being perfect in the work environment, even though we don't want to put out trash. And sometimes we got to make sure that we got quality QA/QC at the end of the assembly to ensure the product is exactly what the company represents. So if that happens, we look at the product once it gets to the end, and however many of those we catch that needs to come back through the cycle, right? No one gets shotgun blasted. It's just that we reward this team for being able to catch their own mistakes and correct them in real time. And you focus on them as a team, not as an individual. If you do that, I think that helps the entire team. So just kind of like my thoughts.
Do we also have to be careful not to breed mediocrity at the same time? Like, is there, if this goes too far, could that be a possible side effect of, rewarding 80 or rewarding, you know what I'm saying? Like, could that be possible side effect?
Sure, I agree. That could be a side effect only if that's the focus.
Mm,
So it's not that we're teaching or promoting mediocrity. It's just that we're not promoting perfectionism. So we're allowing the employee to be a human in the space of perfect, and recognizing that the human exists in here. This is a bridge too far. So progress is the most important piece. And what you'll find incrementally over time is that whoever's doing it, they'll get better at doing it. So in essence, what we're rewarding is progression.
mm,
So
gotcha.
that becomes a goal. If we create policies for progression, not perfection, and then people will recognize, hey, wherever I am, I'm okay with where I'm at. I just need to become better over time.
Makes sense.
Great question. Oh, great question. I want to kind of keep pressing forward. Hey, you see you guys in the chat, keep putting it in there. Appreciate all of the information that you're adding. And that takes us to autonomy versus community. Now, I believe we came from an era to where we said and we believe that it takes a community to raise a child. And I think that communal concept not only worked in the neighborhood, but it also worked in the community, it worked in the workplace. It was like a mindset, not just a era in time. But I think as time progressed, we got away from that and we went to a more individualistic idea when it came down to how we function as parents, as employees, even as siblings. So, how does the collapse of communal care systems like extended families and village networks amplify individual pressures to do it all perfectly?
It left those people out. So what happened? So how does collapse of communal care system amplify individual pressure? It keeps people from having those conversations with those people about certain things, right? When you got auntie around and grandma, and you got grandmas and aunties, you got all of these different people in the community. You got the lawyers in the community, you got the professors in the community, you got the teachers in the community, you got all of these people in the community, the extended family, the village, you got all of these people. You have all of these different support systems, right, to support you. So there's no feeling, there's no need. people didn't grow up, years ago feeling like they had to do it all, because just by the way of the times and how things were, there was always someone there. There was always somebody there to take care of little Dwayne, you know what I mean? Take care of little Unc, you know what I mean? There was always somebody there. Nowadays, we've moved up, we moved away from those types of systems. And now those pressures are there because there ain't nobody around. Everybody's gone. Everybody's to the four winds. Like right now, I have three sons, right? And one's in New York, one's in Colorado, and one's in Louisiana right now. And I'm in North Carolina. So we're in four different states. So where are we going to end up? What are the likelihood that all four of us will be buried in the same state or in the same place? And then I'm from Virginia. So it's like, that's where, Charlotte Ann probably going to end up. That's probably where my brother going to end up. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know where I'm end up. And then my wife is from New Mexico. So because we are all over the place, because the communal system and is all over the place, it amplifies it, not just with words, but literally too. Like literally, you almost have to do things perfectly. Like if you don't have no family, like it's just me and Shell here, just us. We almost have to do it perfectly because we don't have anybody else to fall back on. You know what I mean? There is no, this big mansion somewhere. So if we fall back, that we can just go and live in peace and not have to work. There is nothing like that. And I think most people who don't have these communities, a lot of us and a lot of people are out there on the island by themselves. And in a sense, you do have to do it perfectly, because if your finances are not together, if your health is not together, it's going to be really hard at the end. So you almost have to do things perfectly in order so you don't have to suffer as much later on down in life. And a lot of this has to do because everybody is to the winds now. So that's my talking point.
No, I love it. I like what you
Time.
said. Yeah, I see it too. I like it. I'll agree. I think somebody Mark mentioned different perspectives. Yeah, like being able to have different sets of eyes on the child when the
Yep.
child is growing up, it kind of facilitate the understanding that the child is safe, that the child is doing things the right way, or doing things that they know that their parent wouldn't agree to, and then that became information. So you had like different hubs of information that kind of helped me to understand where my child was messing up, so I can correct their behavior. But once you collapse that system, now I don't get that. It's just me. Who was looking over me and saying, "Hey,
Yep.
see, you might want to look at doing this differently or whatever that looks like," and that can become problematic in the long haul. And so
Mm-hmm.
you have to ensure, like you have to, as they used to say, cross your T's and dot your I's to ensure that the outcome isn't detrimental to what you're doing and who you're trying to become. So thank you for that. So, what structured incompleteness ritual can mimic ancestral interdependence in modern work? What structural incompleteness rituals can mimic ancestral interdependence in modern work?
I want to phone a friend. Charlotte Ann, dial in and answer this for me, please. Um, Structural. I don't know, man. I need a second to think about this.
While you're thinking about it, let me bring up some of these comments that they were
Yeah.
making. They was on it. Nick D said, "Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. I'm starting too far now. Y'all don't judge me. Um, Two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other. Absolutely. You lose different perspective and approaches to one issue. It took several possibilities to maybe one or two. Absolutely. But pity anyone who falls and has no problem, has no one to help them. From my perspective, not having that meant I had to do everything perfectly because failure was not an option. There was no backup system, no one else to rely on, etc. No excuses could be made. We lost valuable connections as well as resources, and a person may feel like they don't have anyone but themselves. I agree. Um, Let me see. I think I got one more. I'm not looking at it as perfect. I see it by design. I work now so I can make sure both child and parents are okay. My mother will not suffer as long as I'm alive. Very good. Okay. Good to go, sir. You still need more time.
I'm good to go.
All
I
right.
think something structured that someone could do is almost like something like an what structure incompleteness ritual can mimic ancestral independence in a modern work. I think just something like just going having conversations about things, not necessarily ritual about this or that, but just having conversations about um, work in general. You know what I mean? I don't think there's anything wrong, not necessarily going back over SOPs or anything like that, but just talking about work in general. Like, all right, why are we here? Maybe sometimes just talk about, hey, you know what I mean? When you're down there on the line, what are some things that you notice? Just have conversations about work in general. And I think, while you're at work, a lot of times it depends on where you at, but people at work, a lot of times people goofing off and hanging out and stuff like that. Cause I do it sometimes. You know what I'm saying? But I think sometimes if there's some time set aside to just stay focused on, while we're there, just keeping updated on um I think just going over just work stuff in general, man. Just like work reviews or even just different things going on. I don't know. That's kind of where I want to go. Kind of
No,
go over work stuff.
yeah, I like it. I like
Not
it.
too structured to where it's like all the format and it's a PowerPoint slide. Not that. Just like even conversations, even 10, 15-minute little manager conversations about stuff.
Yeah, I like it. I like what you're saying. I like what everybody's saying in the chats as well. And I agree. I agree with everything that everybody's saying. Be okay with leaving it.
Yeah.
I will start there. Be okay with leaving it. I think right now in today's society, we feel pressured that once I've done what I was supposed to do, I have to hand it off, right? It should be a system in place to where I don't have to hand it off, right? So I need to be okay with doing my part, leaving it for somebody else to finish, even if it is tomorrow. I think that's another thing we struggle with is leaving work for the next day. Be okay with walking away, say I'm done for the day, and talking to this guy. I don't know if y'all paying attention. I'm talking to this guy right here. Be okay with pushing away from this desk and leave it for tomorrow. Because I think too many times we put too much value in the things that we're trying to do or trying to accomplish, even if it's at work, and not realizing that tomorrow will come. Okay. I think that's an important thing. And that's to go along with everything that I've seen people, because somebody stole my answer, by the way. So that's why I'm saying that. Somebody stole my answer, and I'm gonna put them up, right?
Mm.
That was my answer. I think that's one of the most important things you can do. But yeah, I think she was it's almost like she was in my head, seriously.
Yeah.
But another piece again, be okay with walking away. No, I'm sorry, I did that one already. Um, I had no idea what that looks like because I had toxic leaders. Hopefully, this year I will see some changes in leadership and I can achieve that goal. Yep, absolutely. So everybody's in sync on that one. Getting close to time, so I want to press forward because we're almost finished here. Next is digital perfectionism, algorithm oppression. I think everybody here knows what that is, so I don't even have to go into detail about it. How does predictive AI, and a perfect example of that is resume screeners. And if anybody ever applied for a government job, you know exactly what I'm talking about. How does predictive AI codify narrow standards of perfectionism that erase neurodiverse or culturally distinct strengths? And when we talk about just being neurodiverse, we're simply talking about the natural variation and how people's brains process information, think, and behave.
Is this like the algorithm that like shows us like just stuff we want to see?
No, no, no.
No?
So predictive algorithm. Let's say I put a job out there for for a podcast producer, and so
Okay.
I have every resume that's sent through me is scanned first, and it meets the criteria of the job description. It comes through. If it does not, it rejects it. And so I never see the ones that are rejected by the computer. I only see the ones that meet the criteria of the job description that's in this the computer system. And then once those come through, then I get to see it. So that is what we call predictive AI.
Oh, well, you lose out on the opportunity to see some other potential buyers or some other potential hires in that situation, in that scenario. You know what I'm saying? Like if there's 100 applicants and 45 of them getting through, that's a whole bunch I'd have missed out. I should have used regular numbers. And 40 of them get through, then 60 of them didn't get through. So that's that I ain't want to do no hard math or nothing. Yes, five extra in my head. But so 60 clients didn't get through. So of those 60 clients, how many of those were potential good candidates or hires, but maybe they didn't use these 3 or 4 highlighted words that the predictive AI wanted? That ain't cool. So
So, but what does that do
yeah,
to
that
the?
could be a problem.
But what
Hmm?
does that do to the job applicants?
Ooh, the job applicants. I think, well, one, the people who get the knowledge, they're going to formulate their resumes to ensure that those things are in there, even if they're trash. You know what I mean? And then I think on the other end, you're going to have some other people who may not have gotten that or may use a different language or different tone when they're speaking or talking to where that resume gets shot through the system, and it's just it doesn't get recognized, but that could be a good candidate. I think I answered it.
Yeah. So there's some great and wonderful things that you did, but because you want this job and you may have the skill set to do this job, you got to strip some of those things off of your resume because
Yeah.
anything over a page or in the government system, 10 pages, anything over that, that's kind of like bad juju. 2 pages max, 1 page, right? So you got to strip some of who you are off of that just to meet the criteria of that job description. And in most cases, what you want to do is look at that job description, and you're going to end up trying to make your resume look just like that job description.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really tell me who you are. It just really tells me what my job description said. So I think when we do that, it erases you. Like I can look at this piece of paper and I'm like, okay, this is the job description, but it doesn't say, unk. And that becomes problematic. So when I get in front of you, now I really have to work hard during the interview so I can understand who you are and see if you're the right fit. Because
Hmm.
I think that can by itself can become problematic, and that kind of goes in conjunction with what everybody else is saying, turn you into like a robot, so forth and so
Hmm.
on.
Yep.
So, how can a day of digital abstinence, such as analog Fridays with handwritten drafts, no editing tools, disrupt this cycle and reclaim authentic expression? This kind of goes back to one of the things I was saying previously. Like, I don't know if you remember last year and we did that show on AI, and I said
Mm.
when AI first came out, I was skeptical about it because one of the things I refuse to do is to be a part of a thing that prevents me, or it kind of influences me, or should I say entices me not to think. Just let the AI think for you. Just give it its parameters and let it go to work and it'll give you everything you want. So in this particular scenario or question, how can a day of digital abstinence disrupt the cycle and reclaim authentic expression?
I think it can give you a mental reset. I think anytime you switch up some of your daily habits, it forces your brain and forces your body just to do something different. If you're used to waking up, going to the bathroom, sitting on your phone for 30 minutes scrolling, you know what I mean? Then jumping in the shower and do whatever, you take away that phone, and now maybe you're there for 5 minutes. So now you got an extra 25 minutes to go and do something else. So what are you going to do with that extra 25 minutes? So I think it can also help give you, not, you can't get your time back, but it also can help you make better use of the time that you have. And I think, when you're writing and doing different things like that, that's a hold on, you said with, so you saying handwriting, hold on. Okay. Oh, I lost my train of thought, man. Go ahead. Once
No,
I had
you,
to
you know you're fine. I want
yeah.
you like I want people to think about it. Like, what would a day without anything digital be like for you? No cell phone, no computer. Like,
I'd be
what
fine.
would that be like?
I'd be fine.
Sure.
Because here's why. Because when we go out to the reservation where Shell lives, the reception horrible out there. So there are times where there ain't no phone, and we just be chilling. We'll go for walks. It's just big red rocks around. It's just so much stuff you can do. I like being disconnected. I like when the power go out. I like when the internet go out. Like I don't have a problem with it at all. I like it's good stuff.
Yeah. And I
Reset.
think, and I think, as people think about that, right? I think you can see the value in it. You can see the value even if you do it within the in the four walls of your own home. Could you imagine what family interaction would be like if there was no cell phone Sundays or no cell phone Fridays or whatever that looked like, right? First of all, your child will start convulsing. I'm just going to be transparent. Your child will start convulsing and twitching on the floor and crying all controllably and stuff like that. However, once they get out of that, once their tear ducts dry up and all that other great stuff, I think you'll find that doing things together can be reintroduced to the family. I think all of these digital things take away from, like it says here, authentic expression. It takes away from communication. It takes away from interaction. It takes away from all those things. Every now and then, I haven't done it in a while. Every now and then, I take my phone and I throw it in the corner, put it on silent, throw it
Mhm.
in the corner, and I try not to touch it as best I possibly can, or go a few hours without touching it, because I think it's vital and important to be able to do that. But I think to do it at work, I think it also is an important thing as well. And I know most companies aren't going to do it, but again, imagine what would happen to employee interaction, employee engagement, teams within the workplace and things of that nature. So that's just my thoughts as it pertains to that.
Man, I
Um,
remember looked at my cell phone. I got my cell phone and first cell phone in 2003.
mhm.
Right? So I'm 49, so I've had a cell phone for 22 years and been without a cell phone for 27. So in about 5 or 6 more years, a couple more years, it's gonna flip flop. That means we're gonna be now we would have had a cell phone more than not had a cell phone.
Mhm. I
So
agree.
maybe we ain't gonna be able to talk about. Oh, I
I
remember
don't
when
know,
wait a minute,
man. I don't know. My mama still got a cell phone. She still
your
uses it
mom
to
got a
this
cell
day.
phone?
So. Yeah, she got a cell phone, texting and
See,
all,
oh, they
TikTok
ain't
and
got
all.
no.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
they ain't on TikTok though. I don't think
She don't. Well, I mean, my mama don't do
she
TikTok
watching them.
videos. Yeah, she watches.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
you
saying.
watching.
Um, Last one, and I'm just going to put the question out there, the root cause, because I think it's important for us to kind of, why do economic systems punish imperfection in marginalized groups, entrepreneurs of color, while celebrating noble failures in privileged ones?
Gaddy.
Huh?
I said Gaddy. I thought Gaddy was going. That's Friday night, folks. You just catch
That's right.
us on Friday nights. It's a plug for Friday. I don't know, man. Why do economic systems punish imperfections in marginalized groups?
No,
I got
okay.
nothing. I
I
got
give you,
nothing.
I give you another second. As I check out some of the people in the chats here. Um, she said that is a circulation issue in the legs. Too much sitting. Um, the AI push is not going away. They want a programmed society. Take fast. I have been limiting my time online and populate the population is real. Absolutely. I guess I'm already digitally abstaining because I prefer to think and physically write things, considering options on my own, write down pros and cons of ideas I may have. Um, Fun, pen to paper, real contact. Absolutely. Pollution is real. Yep. People watching is the best. Oh my God. Yeah. Listen, if y'all ever catch me people watching, get your popcorn ready because we fisting to laugh. I'm just telling you right now. I would not mind being completely unplugged even for more than one day. I'm working on more than one day. Engagement happens after meltdown. Absolutely. We took our kids outside often, bike riding, things of that nature. Yeah, take them out there and throw them in the grass and see what happens. They may come in itching a little bit, but just spray them down. They'll be all right. It feels great when I miss days on my phone and computer. Living starts when digital rest. Absolutely. Okay. Um, okay. Back to our question. Nope, still nothing.
Still nothing. I don't. I would need an example of something like this um to really dig. 'Cause, this ain't really my cup of
Sure,
tea in that area too much.
sure.
So
Um, I would say when we look at economic systems punishing imperfection and marginalized groups while celebrating noble failures in privileged ones. Remember, we talked previously about the system being biased.
okay.
There are historical facts, especially in the housing industry, to where marginalized groups would attempt to purchase houses and they were steered clear of certain areas. They would not get approved for loans for particular houses because of where those houses were. I would also say that I can also venture and say that what happens in the business sector when trying to get loans for um, the businesses that they're trying to run, or they get not as much of a loan as others may get. And I think when you look at things of this nature, because it keeps one group of people dependent while the other is more can become more independent. It's almost like Dr. Lisa said, it's almost like a punishment factor, right?
Mm,
um, so it keeps you dependent as opposed to another group being independent. Now, um, I also believe, as we're unpacking this, I also believe that we may have gotten better with it today, but better does not necessarily means equal. And so I think a lot of times we see better and we assume equal to where better is not equal, just because this person may have a combination of two. They may have the minimal assistance that they received, but they may also have the perfectionist mindset that they acquired coming out of a marginalized group. So they took the minimal assistance that they received, applied the perfectionist mentality on top of the minimal assistance, and then they made it work. And when we see a certain thing, we believe that, well, it's fine, it's good for everybody. It is not. I promise you, if we were to ever all get together and have open and honest and transparent conversation, I believe you will be surprised at some of the things that you would hear. Again, it's not as bad as it once was. I want to keep addressing that because I know that there's somebody say, "Oh," in the background, say, "Oh, I don't believe that that's the case." That's fine. It's not as bad as it once was, but it's not as good as it can be. And so when we look at these things, that by itself, understanding that still I'm part of a marginalized group and I don't necessarily get this, that by itself still can promote failure because by that same token, I'm taking that effort equals worth mentality into it, even though the assistance, like I can show you some things right now that's written that says this is for these groups of people, right? But at the end of the day, it still has to hit human eyes and somebody has to approve it. So, do I know on the other side that because I didn't get it, I didn't meet the qualifications for it, even though when I looked at it and I checked the qualifications, I met all the qualifications? Well, why didn't I get it? Why was I passed over because of this, that, and the third? So I think when we look at these systems, they punish marginalized groups to keep them dependent on the system to where you look at these other groups who are okay and bold with experimentation. So they experiment and they fail and they experiment and they fail. Let's look at, I've heard before, and I haven't read it, I've never read any of his books, to where
mhm,
Donald Trump had failed companies, right?
mhm,
I don't know of many stories like that. So there has to be a degree of experimentation that happens. But in all actuality, most people don't want to experiment with their 9 to 5 money because that's what they're using to live by. So that's kind of like the point I'm getting at.
mm. Okay. I'm understanding a little bit more now.
I got you. I got you. So, how can failure stipends, small budgets for intentional experimentation, democratize risk taking and decouple survival from flawless execution?
Let me read it again. I'm not. These ain't
I
most of
got
this not in my wheelhouse
you. I got you.
tonight, man. So I
Well,
apologize, chat. I'm trying, but
no, you're good. You're good. Imagine,
okay.
imagine, imagine if for stepping outside of the box, stepping outside of your
Mm.
comfort zone, trying something different. Imagine if you said you was going to start the Uncle Junior Network, and based upon your articulation of success or failure, right, that you would receive a stipend if it never reached your measure of success because you experimented with something outside of just going to work.
Man, I'm still trying to understand some of these words. I don't know what democratize means, and I don't pretty much know what decouple survival means.
Make it universal for all.
How can failure stipends?
I tell you what. Let me use this one to get the juices flowing. Man, where your glasses
That's part of the problem too, especially this one.
at? It gives a certain level of freedom because they're not risking their own money.
This might help some. I can see that. I can see Nick D's question now though clearer.
I think that's probably the most perfect response right there.
How can failure stipends? Well, I second what Nick D says. Appreciate being on the pound tonight, Dick D. Nick D.
McD was on it. All right,
She was on.
real quick, and we appreciate you guys staying with us. Real quick, true false. One true false, one scenario. Can we do that?
Let's do it.
All right, very good. The true false question for the night. The myth of effort equals worth is purely a Western phenomenon with no impact on global perfectionism trends. True or false? I don't know what I was thinking just now.
I'm gonna say false.
Okay, let's see what the chat say. We got
Got
one
some
with
brothers over
false,
here.
two with false. I see three. Four. All right. Look like everybody's in sync here. The answer is false. Say it again, please. I'm sorry. The myth of effort equals worth is purely a Western phenomenon with no impact on global perfectionism trends. So the answer is false. The meritocracy myth is pervasive worldwide, trapping marginalized groups in cycles of overwork to prove their value in a biased system. So that's the answer there. So real quick, let's jump into this scenario. I'm gonna let the scenario play at the bottom as I read it to you guys. And I know you guys. Yes, I'm sorry, Dr. Lisa. I know you guys were sharp. So here we go. Ria, RIYA, that's her name. A marketing director obsessively edits campaigns to meet impossibly high standards, sacrificing sleep and relationships. After attending a workshop on systemic perfectionism, she implements failure debriefs with her teams and a digital Sabbath to curb her reliance on editing tools. Over time, her creativity flourishes and team collaboration deepens. So, that being said, we're going to keep this party going. First question: what practice directly counters algorithmic perfectionism by temporarily abandoning digital goods? Is it A, failure resumes, B, digital abstinence, C, imperfection quotas, or D, meritocracy audits? I say again: A, failure resumes, B, digital abstinence, C, imperfection quotas, or D, meritocracy audits.
What's the chat say?
I see one answer so far. Okay, we got some A's and B's up in there. We
And
got a C
C's.
up in there.
Somebody on commercial.
Somebody got a commercial. Okay, I read the options again. The options again. Somebody say E. The
E.
options. The options are A. Failure resumes. B. Digital abstinence. C. Imperfection quotas. Or D. Meritocracy audits. Sorry, ain't no E.
And all the above.
All right. You gave your answer already? I'm sorry. If you did, I missed it.
um B.
You said B or
Yeah.
D? Okay. B is the correct answer.
B. Bravo.
B is the correct answer. Digital abstinence. Okay. Uh, can we get in one more?
Yeah.
What organizational strategy disrupts the myth that effort equals worth? A. Predictive AI hiring. B. Structured incompleteness. C. Imperfection quotas. Or D. Mandatory overtime. I say again, what organizational strategy disrupts the myth that effort equals worth? A. Predictive AI hiring. B. Structured incompleteness. C. Imperfection quotas. Or D. Mandatory overtime. Okay, so we got one answer so far. Got two answers now. Ooh, the juices is flowing tonight. I love it. Three answers. I feel like Count Chocula over here. Four answers. Ah. You playing the Vegas odds tonight? You gonna play the Vegas odds?
All night. I'm going with C.
The Vegas odds would be accurate.
I'm
C
going with my
is
mama. Whatever my mama say. My mama say C, I say C.
well, Mama is correct. Okay. Imperfection quotas reward progress over polish, challenging meritocracy bias. Listen, I know we went a little long tonight. I hope you guys found value in the entirety of this conversation. Go away. Found value in the entirety of this conversation. Listen, perfectionism is it can be debilitating if we allow it to, but we got to be careful. So you got some final words? Want to do some final?
No, not too much. Just say, thank everybody for bearing with us tonight, especially me. As I was fumbling through some of these questions tonight. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate everybody in the chat who helped support. I appreciate y'all being here. Like, but real talk though, you know what I mean? Like we do really enjoy engaging with the chat. So we really enjoy you guys being here. I know it's a Tuesday night and it's almost 8:30, and I get that. We try not to keep y'all long, each week. So again, appreciate y'all for being here tonight. But yeah, we really enjoy the engagement with the chat. Like Coach said at the beginning of the show, this is family. So always good to chop it up and hang out with family, even during the week, not just for the weekend. Have a break, on Tuesday to come and hang out a little bit versus waiting for the weekend to get turned. You know what I mean? So Tuesday night we can get turned Tuesdays too.
And if I may, I mean, it's been a while since we got to hang out with y'all face to face. So
Yeah.
we went a little overboard tonight, and we appreciate you guys for hanging out with us.
Oh, we
You,
got two things.
we got two. Yeah, we live next week too. Um,
And it's episode 50. We just hit
oh
50
yeah,
episodes.
this is the 50th episode of
Episode
Coach's
50,
Corner.
folks. Yep.
Right,
So
right, right.
in a little
So
bit.
yeah. So listen, you guys are awesome. We greatly appreciate you. We enjoy um
Mhm.
Miss Charlotte
Shout
Jordan
out
said,
to Nick D.
Miss
Yeah,
Charlotte
Nick.
Jordan said, don't feel bad, Unc. I was too. Listen, we appreciate you guys. We love you guys. You guys are awesome. Again, you're always welcome here on Coach's Corner. And again, next time, come with some friends. Bring some people. Bring some peoples with y'all. We're gonna be live again next week. So we look forward to seeing you guys here again live and direct, me and my brother C Square. So that being said, you guys continue to be awesome. Just continue to be a blessing to those around you, and let the best version of yourself be a blessing to somebody else.